Hello and welcome. This is Sandra Hart at Life Over 60. Thank you so much for joining me today for this bonus conversation. And today I'm not going to be talking just by myself, but I have a wonderful guest with me today, Francine Russo. She's a very well-known journalist. She has written books on relationships and social trends and has written for many of national publications, including the New York Times, Atlantic Magazine, and I could go on and on. But I'm going to make this short because Francine and I have had such a wonderful, wonderful conversation. Francine has written a wonderful book that I thought you all would enjoy. It's called Love Over 50, How to Find It, Enjoy It, and Keep It. So let's not waste any more time and get right into the interview. I know this book, I'm so happy that you wrote this book, Francine, because so many of my subscribers and women, I think throughout the world, after they reach the age of 40 or 50, everything changes in their lives, and even love. And what type of love do you really believe that we're more likely to find after 50? How is it different?
I think it's actually the best kind of love because we're more mature, we're more certain of who we are, we know what we need, and we meet as equals. And psychologists will tell you that two equal people have a much better chance of true intimacy. And the people I have spoken to, I mean, I know it from my own experience, but the people I have spoken to, they just tell me that this is the best relationship of their life, that the person they are with really loves them and doesn't judge them and is thoughtful of them, and they cherish each other.
You know, you mentioned your experience. Perhaps you would like to share with all of the women. I mean, I know because I've read the book, but just exactly what has been your experience? And maybe it was the seed that prompted you to write this book.
It was. I was widowed at 46 and I was devastated. I still had children that were in the house. And it took me a long time to figure out how to be stronger. Of course, I had to heal from my grieving, but I also was very needy, a little bit desperate to meet somebody, terrified to be alone. And over time, I learned to be stronger and not so desperate. And I dated a lot in the
A lot.
a lot.
A lot.
I probably met 100 people.
Oh,
I
you're
had
kidding me.
I'm not kidding. I had, relationships that lasted a year or two. I got better and better at picking people. And I was so ready when I met my second husband. There were 10 years between my being widowed and my second marriage. And when I met my second husband, Chris, I recognized the qualities he had, that we had such a connection because we were both widowed and raising children on our own. And we both done all of this, what he called drive-by dating. And
I love that.
We made stupid mistakes. And when we found each other, we said, oh my gosh, this is it. And, we had an incredible relationship for the time that he lived, for the years that he lived. That very tragically, he died too soon. But and I'm now with my current partner, Michael, for 5 years. And when I was ready, and I waited a long time after Chris's death, I was pretty devastated. But this time, it wasn't a matter of 10 years and dating the wrong people. This time, I knew how to do it, how to be. And when I met Michael, I think he was the second man I had more than one date with. I knew it was right, and it didn't take a lot of time. And that's what I want to share with the readers of Love After 50, how to be your best self and how to learn from your mistakes and learn how to date. I learned everything you need to know about online dating. I could just do it 1, 2, 3.
Well, all right, let's talk about, first of all, being a widow twice. As a widow or widower, I mean, how do you move forward after losing, and you have lost two husbands, prior husbands. Yes. How do you move forward after that trauma?
Well, when I grieve hard. I scream and yell and cry. And, the first year, each time was such pain. I knew what people meant when they said it felt like a part of me was being cut off. I understand that pain. But I also had a tremendous wish to live and be in the present. And friends advised me, get something new, a new dress, a new sheet, something that your husband did not see. And in this little way, you will be building a new life instead of your old life with a giant hole in it. And I did those things. And at time, everybody knows when they're ready. Okay, I would like to have someone else in my life. Let me go slowly. Let me have a few dates and see what happens.
Well, where would you suggest to women who are single, whether they're widowed, divorced, where are the best places to go to start dating again? Did you find in your experience?
Well, I found that asking friends produced very limited results. My friends didn't have enough friends. And going to singles parties was horrible because I'm tiny and, people just looked over me at the taller, more glamorous women. I also did not find that if I met somebody at like a coffee shop and we were talking, I didn't know if this person was married or not married. Well, I was checking out his wedding ring. Very often that person was just being friendly, was attached, even if not married. So I found the best place was to go online where hundreds and thousands of people are presenting themselves as available. Now, it's true, you have to be careful and use good judgment, and not every person is on the level, but most people I have found are. And I did not hear from any of the people I talked to that they encountered an axe murderer. Believe me.
I think that's one of the biggest fears.
Oh, that's just not happening. You always stay in public until you get to know the person. You don't get into a car. You don't go to somebody's house. You stay in public and you'll be safe. Just use the sense God gave you and the maturity you've developed.
Well, in looking for new relationships, as we are older, certainly we have different qualities we look for and are attracted to. Just exactly how do we discover what we really want in a relationship? What is that process, or is there a process?
Well, there can be a process. Think about, I have an exercise in one of the chapters of Love After 50 where I suggest that you make a list of all of you take a piece of paper and you draw a line down the middle. On the left, write, don't want. On the right, write, want. And then on the left, put the negative qualities that you had in your previous marriage or relationship. For example, not affectionate, didn't treat me as an equal, whatever it was. And then put the positive version of that quality on the right. Like, want somebody affectionate who will share their feelings with me. Want somebody who treats me with respect and as an equal. And then when you start dating, when you go online and you read people's profiles, when you email, when you talk on the phone, when you meet on a date, and especially when you start a relationship, be aware, does this person have those positive qualities? Because believe me, those qualities are far more important. Does this person have a big deal job or a lot of money or hair or whatever?
That's a big one.
Yes. As it happens, I like men with hair, but somebody with a fabulous sense of humor and a loving disposition is more important.
That really is true. I think women maybe are a little more open and kinder as far as physical appearances. It's what's inside of the man and how he treats you that really is important, and how maybe if he has children, he treats his children. And one thing, though, I know that if you've been in a long-term marriage and then you're widowed late in life, or maybe you've had a lot of relationships that just didn't work out. But there's one thing that never goes away, and that's the trauma of rejection. Somehow we women are so sensitive to rejection, I think more so than men. And I don't know whether it's because most of them have a long history of being in business and they're used to fighting for their place. But how do we as women handle that rejection when we're older?
Well, chapter 1 of Love After 50 is called Do the Headwork. And I advise everybody to make yourself stronger. One of the things I tell myself, and I think it's true for everybody, if you're in 50 or 60 or 70, you've been through divorce, you've been widowed, you've lost friends, you have survived far worse things than a guy not calling you for a second date, and you've survived. Just
true.
remind yourself, this is not the end of the world, and it's especially true online. There will be a lot of people who don't respond to you, and you will never know why. But I have another exercise. Make up a list of all the reasons this person might not have called you back, none of them having to do with something wrong with you. And it might be this person has dated 50 women and can't find chemistry with anybody, which is likely.
That's a red flag.
This person was dating a woman for a couple months, and she said, let's be exclusive. So he liked you fine, but he became exclusive with this other person. Or he had a heart attack and he's in the hospital, or he's dead. Hey, it's your list. You can make it any way you want.
That's really interesting. I think a lot of fun, and probably will help people not to personalize rejection so much, because there's so many other factors that go into meeting someone. And you know, especially in a man's head, it's not always exactly how we think, because men are Mars and we truly are Venus. I believe that with my whole heart. But just exactly what do you think men are looking for in a mature relationship that might be different from what we're looking for?
You know, I don't know that it's all that different. A mature man is also looking for somebody he can really talk to, who shares his experience, who knows what it is to have parented children, maybe children with problems, who knows what it is to have lost his mother or be taking care of his aging father. Somebody who, you know, can talk about things and know that you will understand them. Somebody who will be sharing and caring and on the same sensual level as he is. Some men really just want to hold hands, especially if they're in their 80s, although I recommend there are plenty of other things to do. But if you're a match in terms of libido, or you know how much physical intimacy you want, then I think that's important to men. You know, the men who can't anymore or think they can't, they might be very sensitive or fear rejection. And, you know, there's a wonderful story in my chapter about sex. This man and the woman on their 5th date, they're in their 70s, they're making out on her sofa like crazy. And suddenly he says, wait, I have to tell you something. And he says, listen, I have a vascular disease. I can't get an erection or have intercourse, but I can give you pleasure. And she said, that's great. I can't have intercourse because it's too painful. And they worked out a great sexual relationship.
Oh, that's wonderful. But it does change as we get older, for sure. What about those of us who have been married maybe for a long, long time, and somehow, even though we try to avoid it, it can become same old, same old. I mean, what can we do if it's just you don't have to be married, you have a partner and it's been a long time and you've kind of gotten into a rut? What can we do to find that romance again and keep it exciting? I mean, I know, you know, probably you have secrets that we don't know.
Oh, of course, I know everything. I say sometimes it's hard when you're in a rut to get your partner to do something new. I recommend you do something new, but if your partner won't do it, then you do it. You do something that's really adventurous and brings you out into the world. Depending on your age, it could be rock climbing, it could be hiking, it could be a sci-fi book club. Whatever it is, you go and do things that are different, and that will make you a little newer and more interesting. And that's a turn on for your partner.
I really think that is true. And I've told my subscribers a lot of time that it is so important to keep you in the relationship, to have your own life and your own self and your own interests, because that keeps you interesting, not only for yourself, but for everybody around you, not only your husband, but everyone. Because if you feel fulfilled, that allows you to give more in the relationship. At least that's what I think.
I totally agree with you. And I think it's a big mistake in any relationship to look to your partner to fill all your needs. Some of your needs you need to fill yourself. Others you can get from friends, from activities. And the more you feel fulfilled, as you say, the more you can give to your partner and the more interesting you are to your partner.
I agree 100%, but then I do get questions about, my husband is so controlling. He doesn't want me to do things by myself, and he resents the fact that maybe I want to do other things, and once in a while do something with my girlfriends. That's really a problem. How can we escape that?
I say, honey, have courage. You've gotten to a really important point in your life. And if you want to do it, you go do it. And if your husband is that controlling and gives you a lot of trouble, you guys probably need couples therapy.
That's a good idea. But I know that a lot of women, because they've been in a relationship or married so long, they become passive and maybe even passive aggressive. They resent the fact that their husband is not allowing them to do something, but yet they're afraid to stand up for themselves and really make a space for themselves in the marriage. And I think that's really important. Now, let's go ahead. No, but it just, let me fast forward to something, because today everything is different. Our morals somehow are a little bit different, and it's okay because we have evolved as human beings. But what about as older couples? He is a widower, has his children. I'm a widower and I have my children. Maybe we don't want to live together, but is it okay if we do?
You know what? Again, I have a whole chapter in Love After 50 on making the decision whether to marry, to live together, or to live apart. There's a name for this in Europe called the people who live apart together, LATs. And that option is really growing. It's okay to cohabit. I mean, the stigma on living together, living in sin, that's not the same anymore.
Right.
In fact, the number of older couples who cohabit without getting married has quadrupled in the last 20 years. It's really okay. And also growing are the number of people who have a long-term, forever relationship, but they each stay in their own homes. You know what? If her kids come over and run wild in the house, that's fine. It's her house. If you're a morning person and she's like up late at night, you could be in different places. You don't have to be on top of each other. And yet you can love each other and have companionship and have intimacy and have true love, but not live in the same house.
That's great advice. It really is great advice. And another thing, what if, we're doing these what ifs today, what if you meet and you both have children and you actually get married and sign on the dotted line and you are together? What do you do with the children who are so fearful that this new person in his or her lives are going to steal their money and I'm going to be locked out of what I deserve? What do you do with the financial ramifications of being married when you're older?
Okay, most of the couples I spoke to and elder law attorneys tell me this is true of 75% of the remarrying older couples. They keep their money separate. The first thing to do is dispel your kids' anxieties or suspicions about inheritance. Draft documents, do a prenup or a postnup, create trusts, and show your kids what you've done. Look, honey, I'm going to be leaving you this, and this is yours. No matter what happens with me and my spouse, this is yours. That so clears the air and makes it possible for your kids to accept and like your new partner.
That's a good idea, but I know that that really is a big problem. I have a friend that kind of had that problem, but I always say, you never get anything unless you ask for it. So, but anyway, she worked out the financial end of her relationship. It's a remarried, but she moved into his house, which was the wife's house that he lived in for years together with his wife. And whenever she touches a piece of furniture, whenever she wants to change the paint on the walls or the draperies or any of the decor, he really said he won't let her do it. And so she feels that even though they've been married for about 4 years, that this is not her house. And she doesn't know what to do about it.
I understand. This is actually a big problem for some couples when he moves into her house or she moves into his.
Yeah.
And she needs to go to him and speak very seriously, not about moving the sofa, but to say, listen, I need to talk to you. I feel like I don't have a say in the place where I live. It doesn't feel like home. I need you to let me make some decisions. But first, I need some space here in this house that's mine, that I can do whatever I want with. That guest bedroom, we never have guests. Let me use it as my office, my space, decorated any way I want, and let's start there. But please, it will be better for both of us if we're together in how we live in this space. Make it serious, make it kind, not confrontational, and make it about the relationship, not about the sofa.
Yeah, I've tried to give her that advice, and I hope she really takes it. So maybe after she listens to you, she will. What do you think about long distance relationships? And I know that does happen because people who are dating online maybe are not always in the same city or even the same state. How does that work out? Do you think that they're long distance relationships when people maybe have to fly or drive to see one another? Is that something you should stay with, or maybe try to find another relationship where people are living in close proximity to one another?
You know, I was never interested in it for myself, but I live in New York City where there are hundreds and hundreds of appropriate people. For
Right.
people who don't live in such a big city, sometimes it's really hard to find a person that you really connect with. And if that happens, like there's one couple in my book. She was from Los Angeles. He lived near San Francisco. They met at a wedding and they really clicked. And he said, well, when you come up north, get in touch. She said, well, maybe. You know, but she did take him up on it when business took her north, and they really connected. And they had a long distance relationship for a number of years, and they both felt they wanted more. And as these relationships get closer and deeper, sometimes people make accommodations where they spend some time at each other's homes. So they actually now spend half their time in her home in Los Angeles, and then they drive all the way to San Francisco and spend the next 2 weeks of the month in his house. And is it a pain in the butt? Yes. But she says this relationship is so important to me, it's worth it.
Well, that's beautiful. It really is. One thing, and it's going to be my last question, then I'm going to let you maybe summarize all of this. But for women who find themselves alone, and maybe never married or widowed or divorced, whatever the circumstances, what can they do to help themselves envision a positive future and not be so negative and fearful? Excuse me.
There are negative ideas. Attitudes like nobody will ever love me, or there's nobody out there. I hear that all the time. There's nobody out there. In fact, with people over 50 divorcing in record numbers, there are new people coming out there all the time. And just look around you. I have a whole chapter in Love After 50 about busting these negative myths. Look around you. People who are not as attractive as you, not as smart as you, not as affluent as you are partnering every day. True. All you have to do is go out there with a positive, hopeful attitude, be realistic, and look. You have nothing to lose by looking. Maybe it won't happen, but there's a good chance it will, because the statistics are on your side, despite what people say.
Wonderful advice. Now, I want you to kind of wrap it up and tell us why we should get this book and how we can get it. And I just love having you, and it's been a wonderful conversation.
Well, the first readers of Love After 50 have told me that they've read a whole bunch of books like this, and mine is the most helpful, the most readable, and goes the deepest. And there are specific chapters on that address all the questions you ask. They give very practical advice, first for how to build yourself up and make yourself ready for dating. Then how to date online, what traits to look for, what traits to avoid, tips, online tips for using advanced search and finding people that way. There are chapters on getting rid of your negative attitudes and confronting them with the positive reality. And so I think for anybody who wants Love After 50, you will learn a lot, and my book will help you get started.
And I know that's absolutely true, because I've read it, and even though I've married, I enjoyed every single page. Your advice is wonderful. You have interviewed so many people with different opinions, and you consolidated in this wonderful book, Love After 50 by Francine Russo. I suggest everybody run out. It's available on Amazon, Barnes and Noble, everywhere. Okay. Francine, thank you for your time. You're so lovely, and give my love. Oh, Barnes and Noble. Amazon just said Barnes and Noble. But anyway, much love to you. My love to New York City. And I hope we can have a conversation again. And best of luck with your book.
Like that. Thank you so much. You've been a great interviewer.